All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're talking about that stimulus package and what it's going to bring and what it's going to do for Bitcoin as well. Because the last time we had a stimulus package, there were quite a bit of Coinbase deposits for exactly $1,200, which was quite suspicious. But I'll go into that in just a moment. But for now, the stimulus package is going back and forth and back and forth. The Democrats blaming the Republicans for stalling and for wanting this, that, and the other thing, and the Republicans doing the same against the Democrats for them wanting one thing or another. It seems very politically motivated. After all, we do have an election in 3 months. And one side wants to look better than the other side. So, of course, they're going to blame each other. And they're going to stall a little bit so that you get angry at the other one. But either way, this is nothing new in Congress. But Democrat and Republicans have finally started to yield as painstaking coronavirus relief talks drag into their 10th day, as the White House appeared to make concessions in the bargaining over extended unemployment benefits. The Trump administration offered to extend extra unemployment insurance into December at $400 a week. So basically, if you're on unemployment, not only do you get your unemployment that you may have paid into based on your wage, but for quite a while now, many months, you've been getting $600 extra a week. And some people are like, well, maybe we should take that away so that it incentivizes everybody to go back to work. Because if you're on unemployment and you're getting $600 extra per week, that you're likely to not go back to work. However, I see that kind of different than the politicians that are bickering back and forth at each other. I see that as, well, it's not us that basically quit our jobs, although my job, either way, I wasn't a part of that. But people are arguing that they're not going to go back to work, but I argue they can't go back to work because a lot of the jobs have been shut down by the government itself. So we'll see when all that is actually lifted. However, the Republicans wanted to remove that $600 and just bring it down to $200 extra a week. And the Democrats wanted to keep $600 extra a week for their constituents, yada, yada, all the way back and forth. So they sort of got in the middle and was like, okay, how about we meet in the middle? Bing, bang, boom. We'll call it 400. So either way, the Republicans want to give out like $1 trillion worth of stimulus, and the Democrats want to give out something like a few $1 trillion worth of stimulus. So either way, the Democrat budget a lot higher than the Republican. But either way, $1,200 checks likely are coming to Americans. And that's if you make if you're single and you reported your taxes as single, and you make under $75,000, you'll get a total of $1,200 stimulus, like you did the last time. So that's really not going to change. The only thing that's really going to change is about the unemployment benefits, and I'm really only talking about the in terms of Bitcoin correlation, the $1,200 check that everybody is going to receive. Now, if you make over $75,000, apparently it's going to be a little bit less. There's a little bit of a stimulus check calculation thing here on this website, but it's probably not completely entirely accurate. We have a scenario one, if you make like $80,000, you might get like $950. But if you're a head of household or you're married, it's actually like double that. The $75,000 is sort of essentially doubled to $140,000 if you're married. This one says $130,000, but either way, so you can see that there's a little bit of a discrepancy. You might get $1,325. So I think it's likely just going to be $1,200 per person again. They were thinking about making it more. I heard proposals to make it $1,000 a month until the end of the coronavirus thing. But either way, if you're single, it's like $75,000 or $80,000, and if you're married or head of household, it'll be more than that. So the first stimulus check left out children, child dependents who were 17 years or older, and university students under 24 years old. So this time it's going to be for any kind of dependent. You're going to get that extra $500. So if you are married, you'll get $1,200 times 2 plus $500. So that's something like $2,900 if you have just one child. So The question is this going to help Bitcoin? And I think it is. Now, there was an article a while back, and I actually made a video about this, and I'm not sure if I read this particular article or not, but this was on April 20th of 2020. And again, I made a video about this a little while ago during the first one. And it says Americans are using their stimulus checks to buy Bitcoin. And down below, there was a tweet from Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, who basically made a tweet that says the number of buy and deposits that are exactly the same as the $1,200 stimulus check. So these are $1,200 buy or deposits apparently, and then all of a sudden about around this time, this was April 16th, this tweet, they shot through the roof. So about 0.1% apparently of ACH buy or deposits were $1,200, and it basically times 4. It went up fourfold, essentially, from 0.1 to 0.4% of people making those exact deposits. And so if we go back to Bitcoin, we can actually see about that time. And around April 16th, we could see the big decline. This was when the coronavirus thing really affected the stock. And the stock market was at about 29,000. The Dow Jones, anyway, was about 29,000. And then it went down to 19,000. It was like the single biggest drop in Dow Jones history, 10,000 points. Within just, a few days or so. And so that brought down the Bitcoin price with it, and that was sort of the beginning, I would say, is the correlation of Bitcoin and the stock market. And ever since, we've these little jumps and dips have been somewhat correlated with the stock market, not entirely, but it is starting to get more and more correlated, and that makes total sense because more and more institutions are getting into Bitcoin, and those institutions are used to trading the stock market or any kind of things like that, and so all of their TA and all of their strategies revolve around the stock market. So if the stock is going down, naturally they're selling Bitcoin and they're buying, etc., back and forth. And we're seeing a lot more of that. We're seeing a lot more institutions getting in on it. And of course, those institutions have been long institutionalized into the stock market, and of course if it's going down they're selling, and if it's going up they're buying. So again, not too surprising here, but around April 16th when that tweet was actually announced, this is about when the stimulus checks actually occurred, and we can see that it goes all the way up from $7,000, $6,800 to $8,000, $9,000 pretty quick. And now we're starting to see another sort of bullish movement. We were stuck at 9,000 for quite a while, like something like a month or two there. We were stuck at around $9,000, and it would go to 9,200. It would go to 8,900, and then all of a sudden we're exploding once again. So we're in a bit of a bull run again, and it's only a couple thousand above 9,000, which it sounds like only a couple thousand, but that's Bitcoin for you. And as you can see, that happens all the time. This is nothing new, but it is nice that we are in that bullish moment. And so if the stimulus check is approximately the same, if it's $1,200 per person, and it's $500 per child or whatever, and we won't go with the child stimulus, we'll just go with that $1,200 because that's what this was based on, of $1,200, and it went up fourfold, and we went up a good $1,000 or so in the market. Let's see, April 16th we're at 7,000, and then a couple weeks later we're at 9,000. So even you could even argue a couple $1,000s. So if the stimulus checks go out, they're going to vote on it this week. They're trying to come to a resolution this week, and then next week they will vote on it. Which it will likely pass because they basically have to. At this point, they bickered back and forth with each other, Republicans and Democrats, and at this point, both of their constituents are angry with them. So, anybody who is left-leaning and Democratic, or anybody who's right-leaning and Republican are probably equally angry at the politicians. Now, we're not even seeing them as left and right or Democrat versus Republican. We're seeing them as they're taking vacations every few weeks, and they're basically refusing to come to a resolution to help the American people. So at this point, everybody's just angry at them. So it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen in the next week or so that they're going to start heading out for sure. I don't see it going on much longer because right now everybody's just angry at them, and they realize, oh, okay, well, maybe we argued and bickered too much. Now we're not getting voted for. So that makes a lot of sense. So we might actually see a couple $1,000 increase in the next couple weeks after that. And I'm not trying to sell hopium here, but based off the deposits, they increased fourfold on Coinbase. And there's been a lot of talk. There's like a Reddit post that appears once in a while, and that your it's basically your $1,200 stimulus check, how much it's worth now. And right now, that stimulus check for $1,200, if you were to put it in Bitcoin, is now $2,000. So which is a huge, incredible increase. I mean, $800 for just simply depositing it and buying Bitcoin is pretty nice. And that post appears once in a while, and it shows the difference of how much you would have made. So again, if it's anything like the same, we could say, $1,000 or $2,000 increase easy. And instead of at 11,006, we could be over 13,000. We could be nearly at 13,000 after these checks. And that goes, to just about every currency, as, with a rising Bitcoin, typically other currencies will rise as well. But that's just my 2 cents on the stimulus package with Bitcoin. I think a lot of people, obviously this is only 0.1% and then to 0.4%. So that's a very small portion of the total deposits going to Coinbase. But those $1,200 chunks did go up fourfold. And that's a lot of extra. That's a lot of extra deposits. That's a lot of extra buying. And so there's just going to be definitely some buying power, unless the stock market all of a sudden just trembles, which I doubt it will, because it's going to go up, because with all the money in the hands of people, they're going to immediately go out to various stores and corporations and start buying things. And that's just going to raise the stock. That's just going to raise the price of everything. And so with Bitcoin as well. Now, when it hits 13,000 or even close to 14,000, it's hard to say what it's going to do after that. If it goes up too quickly, of course, there's going to be people that will sell off. And we had that massive sell-off, and we could see here 11,700, and it went down like $1,500 in just an instant. There was a big red candle. So that's clearly just one person selling off a ton of Bitcoin, and that happens from time to time. But that usually happens a little bit more as the price really starts to shoot up very quickly. But that's all I have for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. As usual, I'll see you guys next time.